Case of the Gilded Lily is a short film made by Shipwreck Comedy, pushing the definition of short by being almost 40 minutes. Originally made for the 2017 Buffer Film Festival and funded through Kickstarter. Due to its quite long title, I'll be calling it Gilded Lily throughout this commentary to save a bit of time. Gilded Lily came as an idea for Buffer Festival when Shipwreck Comedy showed the last episode of their web series, Edgar Allan Poe's Murder Mystery Dinner Party, otherwise known as Poe Party, in 2016 to an overwhelming amount of support. It takes inspiration from classic film noirs and more contemporary noirs like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Set in Los Angeles in 1939, this tale follows Ford Phillips, a strict private detective who's set in his ways, trying to solve a case revolving around rising star Wilhelmina Vanderjetsky, with some help from Fig Weinstein, a reporter. And the rest of the plot gets just as weird as those names, with an addition of more ridiculous names for good measure. It starts with Wilhelmina Vanderjetsky talking to Detective Ford Phillips. She's backed up by her childhood best friend.
The name's Weinstein, Fig Weinstein, junior ace reporter at the Tinseltown Times.
Wilhelmina reveals she's being blackmailed over her real name, Lily Thomas.
Sorry, Lily Thomas?
No, Thomas.
All right.
And how she became a star thanks to her husband Roger Haircreme. The whole situation needs to be sorted before the premiere of Wilhelmina's new film, Suffering Safari. Ford refuses, as he doesn't take cases from Hollywood anymore.
Not since the war.
After some back and forth between our characters, Ford reluctantly agrees. Wilhelmina has to pay her blackmailer tonight, and she found a dead Lily outside her dressing room.
On account of her
I
name
got
being...
it. Thanks.
We get a list of our possible suspects.
Anybody else know your real identity or have a grudge against you?
Well, I know about my identity. And Fig. And you know. And my co-star, Cliff Calloway. As for a grudge, I did just beat Vivian Nightingale out for the lead in a Prohibition-era tap-dancing Western adaptation of The Grapes of Wrath.
As our detective uses his contacts to find out more. We start with a call to Claudette Knickerbocker.
A friend from the war.
Sorry, just had to.
Were you in a youth infantry?
Go for Knickerbocker.
Ford asks Claudette about Cliff Calloway, as she responds with her fantasy, which eerily starts off sounding exactly like one of my best friends talking about our favourite actor.
The only thing that he is guilty of is being too handsome. Lock him up and throw me the key. And then we fly away because he can turn into a sexy dragon.
They really captured how fangirls are a bit much. There's a back and forth between two different scenes. Fig at Bixby's bar looking for Vivian Nightingale, and Ford looking for Cliff Calloway at a movie studio. In order to avoid spending too much time on these scenes, I'll just give you the key pieces of information that we learn. 1. Buster Keaton is underappreciated at the movie studio, working from a broom closet. 2. Cliff Calloway is leading a double life of his own. 3. Wilhelmina is a little bit of a blathermouth and tells people a lot of things she shouldn't. 4. There's a Hollywood gambling ring run by the mob that's happening that night. And 5. I could listen to Vivian Nightingale's song on a loop forever and never get bored of it. Once Fig and Wilhelmina have left Bixby's, Ford is there to ask Vivian his own questions. We are soon introduced to Dash Gunfire, a bumbling idiot of a detective.
If they handed out awards for being terrible at your job, he wouldn't get one, because he'd get lost on the way to the ceremony, which would be held at his house and called the Dash Gunfire Memorial Awards, hosted by his mother.
Hey!
Who reminds me of myself a little bit. Dash has been tailing Ford from the movie studio, but he has not exactly been subtle about it.
I could feel this going sideways. So I decided to pay Claudette a visit down at the station to see if she could right the ship.
Going over to the police station, our protagonists go over the information that I spoke about earlier, realizing that they need to infiltrate the gambling ring in order to find out more information. Ford and Fig arrive at the location of the gambling ring, tailed again by Dash, who is seriously doing a terrible job of this detective thing. He tries to get leverage by using a ledger of bets to pry information from Ford.
The ledger of bets from this gambling operation. Code names used to protect their identities. Useless.
Just pick this up off a table?
Looks like another case for the great Ford Phillips.
It's Phillips, Ph.
I don't know what to tell you, that's how you say it.
Our detectives question Buster Keaton, revealing that he's actually incredibly jealous of Wilhelmina's fame. Ford goes back to the police station to talk to Claudette, and as he leaves, Claudette tells him that Fig was fired from the Tinseltown Times.
This was the kind of information only a voiceover could help digest. A voiceover that would lead to the next scene. The smoke and mirrors. It's all taking me back to the war.
You can't possibly have been old enough to be in the war.
We finally learn that the war has nothing to do with actual combat. It's actually a film Ford and Claudette starred in when they were children. This is also the reason why he was so reluctant to take Wilhelmina's case in the first place.
Look at your tiny little top hat.
Looks just like the one on the man who took the blackmail money last week. Is that important?
Spill, Will.
I was told to drop the briefcase in a dumpster in Echo Park. I was just about to leave when I saw a man in a top hat dive in and grab the briefcase. He was real angry on account of losing his hat in there.
Missing the top hat, though. Lost out on a job. They're probably going to charge me for it.
It seems that the man collecting the blackmail money is a familiar face to both the characters and the audience. Ford and Bixby talk about Fig betraying Wilhelmina as Dash overhears, transitioning to a scene where Fig is being followed by Ford, who in turn is being followed by Dash, each with their own unique way of detective work. Fig is revealed to be talking to Vivian, as she may be spilling secrets to sabotage her best friend.
Suffering Safari, the latest Vantage Jet Ski Callaway film debuts tonight at the Vista Theater. And while the hijinks unfold on screen, a different sort of drama will be taking place in the lobby.
While I received some competition in the voiceover department.
Right. The suspects are all here, and Ford reveals his plan, how he works with Fig in order to find the blackmailer and the steps of their plan. So whoever the blackmailer is, or is working with, would be caught.
We used an ink as makeup on that film, the kind that stains for a week. The kind now used by police.
I thought I had frostbite.
In all likelihood, the transfer was made today before the banks close for the weekend, so one of you will be sporting a muddied mitt. Two of you will be sporting a muddied mitt.
It's revealed that Buster Keaton was blackmailing Wilhelmina along with her own husband, Roger Haircreme.
Got me red-handed. I know it's hard to tell because of the black and white, but this ink is a deep red.
Dash Gunfire eventually just loses his mind, which reflects how I felt when I realized I had to write the synopsis.
Oh, God! This profession is so hard! How does anybody even do this?
The case is solved. Our characters celebrate a job well done, and we see the door of the office once more, showing how Fig and Ford have decided to work together. The film is all in black and white, as it pays homage to film noirs with the aspect ratio, the constant narration, and even the archetypes the characters portray, whilst also shining a modern light upon how these films portray their female characters and adding a comedic tone. Each female character in the film is distinct, all having a unique personality, performance, and way of dressing that helps flash them out. Fig Weinstein is a fast-talking reporter. She's incredibly snarky with a snappy quip always up her sleeve. She speaks very quickly and directly, as if she's rushing to get out what she has to say before somebody interrupts her.
Take a seat.
I prefer leaning passive-aggressively in doorways.
Her costumes always involve simple dresses and large hats which could cover her face, and she starts to resemble Ford's outfit with a similar hat and coat at the end of the movie, showcasing how they've now become partners. Wilhelmina Vanderjetsky is our idiot starlet who's not the sharpest tool in the shed, and a little too honest. She's always staring off into space and gazing dreamily with a slight lilt to her voice which makes you feel like she's always a little bit ditzy.
Oh, well, I have money. Lots of it. I suppose that's why I'm being blackmailed.
She acts very much like she's in one of her own movies. She dresses in cutesy dresses which are classy and fashionable for the era. Vivian Nightingale, the femme fatale, classy and would stab you in the back if you got in her way. She speaks with a lower pitch and a more seductive tone. She rarely makes eye contact unless she thinks it will get her somewhere, or to make a point to whoever she's talking to. She wears long flowing dresses with long gloves, the very style being the iconic look of the femme fatale. The music really helps transition between scenes, as you can hear. Yes, it's actually called a change of scene, and the song only becomes more and more fourth wall breaking as you progress through the film. It only shows up after we first meet Vivian Nightingale, as it's the song she's singing. Going back to the narration within the movie, other characters can hear Ford's narration, with Fig sometimes interrupting him to bring up her own points.
Fig and I followed Buster after work. And just
according to plan, he led us straight to the cookie jar. You talk too slow.
Dash even points this out as he tries to do it himself.
Talking about me in your head?
I'm trying. How do you do that?
The Case of the Gilded Lily combines somewhat dated tropes and conventions of the film noir genre, whilst adding signature comedy that can be seen in their other works. It's a shining example of bringing a new element to an older, underappreciated genre.